Hi, I'm Jess Jones. I'm the tech and media reporter for City A.M, and today I'm here with Nick from Microsoft. Great to meet you, Nick.
Hi, Jess.
Please, could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Of course, yeah. Nick Hedderman. I lead the modern work business for Microsoft in the UK.
Today we're discussing a bit about Microsoft's new Copilot offering for businesses. So could you start by telling me a bit about how Microsoft came up with the idea of Copilot and what it can do?
Well, Copilot for Microsoft 365 is really your AI assistant. It's going to help take all that drudgery out of your day-to-day work and free you up and give you more time back to really focus on the things that matter, creating things, innovating, and becoming more strategic in your thinking.
And can anyone in the organisation use this software?
So you need to be licensed to use Copilot, and once you have that license, then it comes to life in all of your M365 applications, such as Outlook, Teams, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And what you'll find is it does two things really well. It helps you speed up the work that you do, and it also helps improve the quality of your work as well.
Great. Well, I mean, should we go and have a look and see
Yeah,
what you can do
let's do
then?
that. Yeah. Should we start with a meeting?
Yeah.
So many people often turn up to meetings just to be informed about what's going on. So imagine re-architecting how meeting works in your organization and just have the core decision makers in that room, and then allowing those that have the permission to access that content to come back at any time after the meeting to interrogate the transcript and really just get to that information layer. You know, I just need a little snippet to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So this is an example here where I wasn't in this meeting. There were a bunch of my colleagues who were, and they were discussing things. I can go back and I can play the stream of that meeting if I wanted to watch it, but actually even better, I can see when different people were discussing things. I can see some of the topics that they were also discussing. And even it's been smart enough to create chapters of the meetings as well, so I can just jump in and out here.
And what if I wanted to find something specific that somebody said?
Yeah, great question. So this is where Copilot becomes really helpful. So that experience I just showed you is consistent for every single member of the meeting. But now I'm in the environment where I'm showing my Copilot. So I'm going to say, okay, what did, and let's see who was in the meeting quickly. So let's go with Diego. Let's see what did Diego say? Question mark. And now Copilot's going to go look across that entire transcript of the meeting, and specifically what was Diego talking about. Here we go. He spoke twice during the meeting, and he talked a bit about the technical support team, and he's identified some of the solutions to the action plan with the incident that came up. So as an onlooker for this meeting, I can quickly get to the information.
And so what about, for instance, if I wanted to use Copilot in my emails? How can it help there?
Well, it does a few things really well, actually. Firstly, it will summarize your entire inbox and help you focus on the emails you should start with. So it's really good at helping you triage all of your inbox, especially if you've been away from the office for a few hours or you've just come back from holiday. Secondly, if you've got really long threads, it will do a good job of reading all of those and giving you a simple summary at the top. Which is a really good way of cutting through.
Get bogged down in
exactly.
Trying to find the actual most recent message.
Can you help me, Jess? Question mark, and then you see 25 responses underneath those. So great at doing that. But maybe I'll show you my favourite feature at the moment, which is called Coaching by Copilot. So I've got an email here where it's talking about the festive party plans for my team, which I'm just about to send out. But I thought it might be smart to turn on my coaching feature first. So as opposed to me walking away from the desk and coming back and rereading it, I've now got a second pair of eyes taking a look through my email. And it's going to look for things like tone, for clarity of communications. So everything it's doing here is helping to create a better quality outcome.
And how is this different from you usually get those sort of pop-up kind of auto-generated finish your sentence kind of prompts. How is this different from that?
This is way more advanced than that. This is generative AI. It's going into the email. It understands language really well, and it's going to start not only highlighting some of the challenges, but also some of the recommendations. So, for example, adjust the tone for a bit of formality. It feels like it's a little bit too formal. It's also saying consider the diversity and inclusion of the team. Not everyone might like festive traditional turkey and crackers. And also from a clarity point of view, hey, you haven't even mentioned the time, the date, the location of the party, and how teams should RSVP. So I'm lacking some significant detail there. So now, I mean, given that, it's also made some suggestions for how I might improve it. So there you go. At the second sentence, at the beginning of the second paragraph, the party will take place on this date, in this location. And so I could easily add that in. And then once I send it, I know I'm producing a better quality outcome in this case.
And have you had much feedback on Copilot yet from businesses who have already started to use it? Because I believe that you beta tested it for a while and now it's fully launched.
That's right, yeah. We had a number of our customers using it over the summer, and we've learned some really interesting things. So first of all, 77% of the people that were using it said, don't take it away, really enjoying this. 70% of people said they're more productive as a consequence. 68% it's improving my quality. And then some other really interesting stats. Firstly, catching up on meetings 4 times faster than they were prior. So this is really accelerating that meeting follow up, and then getting stuff, especially the mundane stuff, done quicker. 28% faster is what we're learning from these initial stats. And then finally, we asked them whether they would rather have a free lunch or Copilot, and 88% of people said they'd rather take a Copilot over a free lunch every month.
And how long has Copilot been in the making? Is it kind of since the pandemic, or since when? What's the timescale there?
We leveraged the power of the OpenAI large language model, the GPT language model in the background, and as we've seen, that's accelerated very rapidly over the last 6 to 12 months. Microsoft has been behind OpenAI for much longer than that, and investing to make them our partnership successful. That information comes to life through the apps itself, and then starts to bring all of these scenarios, no matter the situation.
And why do you think that businesses are turning to technology like Copilot and other generative AI options is it to maximise their profits, or are there other reasons for this?
Well, it's really at the heart about augmenting human performance. If we can help people to perform better in the workplace, then ultimately that drives competitive advantage for that organisation and bottom line business growth. You know, there's a direct correlation there. And so what's really refreshing is, especially when we speak to leaders in our Work Trends Index, we speak to a cohort of leaders, the number one thing they say that they would see the benefit of this technology is employee productivity and employee productivity gains.
And how have employees reacted to using this? Because, I mean, one of the concerns that we've heard a lot recently is that employees are really worried that AI is going to steal their jobs, and this is obviously big anxiety going around. So how does this, does Copilot address those concerns in any way?
Well, first of all, it's there to help you and augment you as a human being. It's the clues in the name. It's there as your Copilot. This is not about automating the job that you do. And secondly, when we ask people, would they like some sort of AI assistance in their workplace, over 70% of people say, yes, please, this would be great. And when you ask them specifically, what sorts of things would you like help with? Finding information, number one pain point for most people on a daily basis in the workplace, getting on with administrative tasks that I don't want to take care of, helping me be a little bit more creative if that's not my natural flair, organising myself, organising my day, organising my inbox. You know, these are all things that are a burden. You know, this is the digital debt that has built up over many decades in cases with individuals in the workplace. And so how can I cut through all of that digital debt and separate the noise that creates from the actual signals, the insights, the things that really matter. Yeah. And then once I get to those signals, then I can use that to be creative and generate something as a consequence.
And the companies who use Copilot can the companies who use Copilot trust that their data is safe with it? How does the underlying data work there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Copilot for M365 adheres to all of the company's existing security, privacy, and compliance rules that they've put in place. So it's just a layer on top of their existing implementation. And so all of your data stays within your tenant. It's not used to train the language model. We don't have any eyes-on access as Microsoft. It's your tenant, it's your data. So that's fully respected.
Okay. And lastly, a couple of more fun questions. What's your favourite feature of Copilot?
Well, I quite a lot of them actually. I'll pick 2. I love this coaching in Outlook. It's making me a better communicator. The other thing is I probably know about 5% of Excel, and it's not only showing me how to write better formulas because it's doing that for me based on what I prompt it with. It's then teaching me why it's coming up with that formula. I'm learning that as a consequence. I'm actually getting much better at Excel as a consequence of Copilot.
And where do your teams and Microsoft Teams use Copilot? Is it mainly when you're in the office, or can it be used from anywhere?
It can be used anywhere as long as you're connected to the internet, on your phone, on your PC. I'd say it's used in lots of different scenarios. It depends to some extent on your role within the organization. I'd say the more senior you get, you're typically consuming and summarizing more. And it also depends what function you work in as well. So let's say you're in the marketing team and you're writing copy, it's really helpful for that. If you're in the finance team and you're using Excel to get into more advanced analysis, then it's really helpful for that. So we tend to see quite a different number of use cases. And actually, what's really exciting is just how many prompts can people dream up. We've got something called the Copilot Lab that captures all of these prompts and allows people in the community to share prompts with each other. And what's really exciting is when you let this loose within an organization, you encourage people to just really innovate and test and play. And
how do you write a good prompt?
Yeah, it's a great question. You've got to unwire how you use a search engine in your brain. You should treat it like it's an assistant or someone that works for you. And you should be really directive as what you want to get. Set the context, be specific about the outcome you want, be clear about any other information that you want to be included in that. You can reference, for example, file names or file locations if you want to point it towards those. So the more detailed you can be with that prompt, the richer the outcome will be as a consequence.
Do you have a personal favourite prompt to ask Copilot or
wow.
generative AI in general?
I am fast. My prompt library in my head, at least, is expanding on a daily basis. The one I use a lot, especially if I'm getting ready for a week ahead on a Sunday night, is just tell me what's happening in my week and what are the things I should be spending my time preparing for. It's really good at that because it will go through all of my calendar. It will look where I'm, for example, spending time externally versus internally. It will start sharing some of the files that I might want to read in advance. And so that's a really helpful thing that just gets me ready for the start of a week.
Great. Finally, more broadly, how do you see generative AI changing the future of the workplace, especially in modern Britain?
Well, I think it can certainly help to create innovation in the market and competitive advantage in the market. If we can free people up, we learned in our study just recently that people are spending as much as 53% of their time purely communicating with their colleagues, which is only leaving circa 47% of the time to create. So if we could have generative AI help compress some of that communication element. I mean, you're always going to need to communicate, but let's say you could get it down to 20 or 30%. That's going to free up more time to start creating more and innovating more. So I think generative AI can be the catalyst for innovation, and therefore companies can really start to grow and flourish as a consequence.